Okay, everybody. Hey, it's Phil Dawson here, your humble narrator, getting set for another chapter of The Thran. And as you know, The Thran has been brought to us by our title sponsor, Gamers Dreamland, your online LGS, the best place to grab your Magic singles for your next brew. Their TCG Player Gold seller that means fast, reliable shipping, solid ratings, and a great selection of cards from the newest drops to the classic staples. Orders over $10? They ship free. And here's the kicker. If you use the link in the show notes or just go to gamersdreamland.com from here, you get 10% off your entire order automatically. Don't need a code, no nonsense, a clean, easy deal. And every time you shop going there, it supports this podcast directly. So maybe you're not a Patreon member yet, but you still play Magic, you're still looking for cards. Hey, buy some from Gamers Dreamland. You get the cards you need. We get to keep telling the stories and again supporting the podcast through the what we love to do. It's easy, right? Nice little ecosystem we got going on, and you can be a part of it. That's Gamers Dreamland, your online LGS. Chapter 16. They were figures from a nightmare. Warriors with silver bodies and lightning swords. Wherever those blades fell, bodies split in half. There would be a clean moment when every severed organ and bone showed in the afternoon glare. Then vitality spewed into the sudden space. All went red, grotesque. Only the sword remained clean, darting down to notch cobblestone before rising to slay again. Gix reeled, clutching a fence post shorn by such a brilliant blade. After centuries of peace in Halcyon, there had been no need to apply new Power Stone technologies to warfare. It took a man like Yawgmoth to gaze into a crystal and see the potential for murder. An angry smile formed under Gix's bandages. He himself had used a Power Stone in attempted murder. He was the original innovator. He could innovate again. Beyond the shorn fence, a sedan chair waited in a small statue garden. Catching an anxious breath, Gix vaulted up over the fence. A sword shaved through wood behind him as though it were mere paper. Leaping into the sedan chair, Gix slid a trembling hand beneath the control crystal. He pulled upward. The craft jittered into the sky. There came a crash below. Gix glanced over the rising edge of the vessel. The silver-garbed warrior who had pursued him into the garden had taken a swing at the sedan chair, missed, overbalanced, and spilled among statues. Marble figures toppled around and atop the guard, pinging against his armor. His sword had bit deeply into the ground, and he struggled to yank it free. Gix moved his hand to the top of the control stone. The craft plummeted. It spun slowly as it descended and veered toward the struggling warrior. Sword arm pinned under pernicious statues, the man was oblivious. The sedan chair fell like a hammer on the man. Even enchanted armor could not dull that blow. There came a screech and a groan. The warrior collapsed beneath crushing weight. The chair cracked and fell to one side. A hiss of steam went up. Gix clambered from the wreck and surveyed his work. The garden was ruined. Shattered statuary littered the ground, and the warrior lay among the other figures. He was little more than pulp within his Power Stone armor, had pulled away from dead muscle. Aching, dizzy, Gix flung back fallen statues, peeled the man's fingers from the sword hilt, and dragged the thing loose. The sword had quite a heft. It tingled in his grasp. Gix kicked the helm off the bloodied head and set it in place on his own head. It, too, bristled with power. Feverishly, he knelt and tugged at the bloody armor. "I can use this sword to seam one of them, to kill 10 of them," he panted as he worked. "I can strip them, too, and dress 10 untouchables. Each of them can kill 10 until we've taken over the whole city." The armor sucked free the pulverized man. Gix wriggled into the slick suit, felt it tighten around him. "Until we've taken over the whole city." The sword cleft the fence one last time, and Gix strode forth. He had not gone 3 paces before he ran his blade into the eye of another guardsman and dragged him into the garden of statues. Zod paused, hauling his sword out of a man's chest. It was horrible work for a healer. Split open this machine work masterpiece. It's not why he paused. He paused because Yawgmoth spoke into his mind. There are impostors among you. There's not so much the sensation of a voice, but the tactile sense of one mind pressing upon another. Turn around. Look for lesions. Do not trust everyone in armor. Some are untouchables, some are the damned. He staggered, scanning the street. His company of 20 had been pursuing a group of untouchables through the granary. They had met little resistance until they had discovered a family holed up in one of the silos. The parents had fought like a pair of lions to give their children a chance to escape. The plan worked. The young ones ran off while Zod clove their father in two. It was horrible work for a healer, but it was the will of Yawgmoth. Another healer staggered back from the fallen mother. He tapped his helm. The message must have been going out to all of them, all the Hellside warriors. Yes, there were two others staring about themselves in shock, and a third who ran purposefully up behind his comrades. No! Zod shouted. It was too late. The two guards had begun to turn when the untouchable swords flashed. Their heads leapt from their shoulders on a pair of crimson fountains. Their armor sucked away from their bodies even as those bodies fell lifeless to the ground. The untouchable crouched over them, plucked up the two swords. Zod arrived in the next moment. His own blade descended. It sliced through the untouchable's neck. There were 3 heads now on the ground, and 3 helms and 3 oozing bodies. Zod lifted his eyes, unwilling to see their faces, unwilling to be caught by another untouchable in silver armor. Destroy the armor, Zod. Destroy the helms. Yawgmoth's thoughts pressed on his mind. Do not let another untouchable claim them. As though it moved with a will of its own, Zod's sword lashed down, splitting 3 helms and 3 heads. It smashed down thrice more, cutting wide 3 breastplates in the hearts within. What about the swords? Zod found himself asking. Give them to citizens. Let them fight. Let them help you drive the dam back into their sewers. Now go, Zod. Kill any who remain. Pursue the rest below. Nodding numbly, Zod gathered the 3 swords. He strode out of the empty granary, the street beyond thronged with untouchables, tearing down fences, bashing in doors, dragging daggers over the throats of citizens, looting and burning. Zod waded into their midst, slaying savagely, without remorse. You should not have let those children go, Zod. I know, Yawgmoth. I know. Yawgmoth pulled his fingers away from a large gray crystal in the schematic of the lower city. His eyes remained closed. The mental contact persisted for a moment even after the physical connection was broken. The granaries are secure. I have a good man down there. I had 5 good men. Word is out now that untouchables have been disguising themselves in Hellside armor. That trick will work no longer. He opened his eyes and noted the expressions on all the faces there. Rebecca watched the crystal map table intently. Eldest Jameth looked green-gilled. She had not spoken a word for hours. The elders had varying expressions: amazement, admiration, concern, doubt, hope. Even a few of Glacian's goblin friends had entered the room. They watched like delighted children. In rapid succession, Yawgmoth laid his fingers on various other power stones. The temple remains secure. The council hall is regained. Crews are scouring the amphitheater and arena. There are only a scant 100 rioters in them, and soon there will be none at all. The 8th terrace will be secure once they are slain. Rebecca glanced up from the stones. She shivered as if chilled by his easy tone. The elders about her nudged each other in quiet congratulation. Their homes and places of work would soon be safe. I would estimate 1,000 Hellside deaths and 4,000 rebels. They're on the run now. They know they can't win or even survive. Their leader will always choose to survive. His fingertips clutched the gray power stone linked to the granary. A smile crept across his features. Ah, Gix. Even now he flees back home, down the channel we've been unable to discover. He flees wearing a helmet linked to me. Hands flying now across the array, Yawgmoth closed his eyes. The smile deepened. What are you doing? Asked eldest Jameth. Yawgmoth did not pause to answer. His hands moved in violent bursts across the matrix. When at last the task was done, he leaned wearily back from the table and blinked his eyes open. I sent a message to each of my soldiers in the lower ward. They all have an exact visual image of the route of Gix's retreat. I commanded the Hellside Guard to pursue the rebels down into the caves. For what purpose? Rebecca blurted. For what purpose? Yawgmoth asked. There there are already prisoners down there, unless you plan a mass execution? Yawgmoth hauled the crystal table up. It swooped past their noses, swiveled, and stood in the cabinet. It seemed no more now than a panel of wood. Yawgmoth placidly closed the doors before it. The war is won. The demonstration concluded. You can't just kill them, Rebecca protested. There are many citizens in the quarantine cave. The quarantine cave will not be entered, Yawgmoth pledged. Those orders were clearly given. We are not attacking invalids. We are exacting punishment on rebel murderers. They've slain 1,000 citizens today. Shall we leave them down there to rise again and slay another 1,000, and again, and again? The sooner the threat to the city is ended, Eldest Jameth said quietly, the better. Yawgmoth dismissively brushed his hands. What happens down there is the decision of the Hellside Guard and their captains. I, meanwhile, have a more important and more pleasant task to perform. He reached into one of the pockets of his armor and drew forth a pendant with a glowing blue stone in it. He opened the chain outward and solemnly drew the amulet around his neck. This is a gift from a friend, an amulet that allows me to call on her in grievous times. Rebecca blinked. Call on her? In answer, Yawgmoth clasped the stone between his hands. A woman suddenly appeared in their midst, thin and muscular. The black-garbed woman had short-shorn hair and ebony skin. Her eyes were piercing and her smile a little mocking. The elders leapt slightly back at her sudden arrival. Rebecca stood her ground, eyes narrowing. Dyfed. In the flesh, the woman responded with a gentle bow. Eldest Jameth stared suspiciously at her. Who are you? A wizard? Yawgmoth laughed. No, she's grander by far than a wizard. Dyfed is a new breed of human, a rare and wonderful breed. She is the living manifestation of human destiny. Though she was born human, she is now as different from us as we are from animals. I didn't know I was to be put on display, Dyfed said. She is a planeswalker, Yawgmoth concluded. A planeswalker? What is a planeswalker? It'll be easier to show you, Yawgmoth said. I have asked her to conduct us on a tour of some of the planes to give us an idea of what she is and what we might become. She has agreed. She will take us to walk the plains. Dyfed swung her arms out, sweeping the company. Her fingertips trailed a palpable magic, as though her arm were a sorceress wing. Pinions of energy brushed their heads and bodies and clothes, enveloping them in a gossamer veil. The laboratory faded from view, as flat as an old memory. A crazy geometry ruled the blankness around them. Circles curved outward instead of inward. Pentagons had square corners. Every line bled itself into another possible line. It was a chaos of potentiality, in which all things simultaneously did and did not exist. The corridors of time, Dyfed said into their minds. The blind eternities, the bastard plane. Whatever name you call it, this is the nonsense in which all planes float. Everything that is derives from this place of things that are not. There came no response to her words. The mortals couldn't move. As rigid as statues, they hung there alongside each other, just as they had stood in the laboratory. Yawgmoth, Eldest Jameth, Elders, Rebecca, even the goblins, none moved. Only their eyes held life, the spark of intelligence. Suddenly, they were in an utterly different space. It was a seer world of orange rock and wind-swept sand. In the distance stood fingers of stone too tall and narrow to stand on Dominaira. The sky was red, and though its pale veil, stars winked even at midday. The group stood on that world, their feet imprinting the dust. The magic pinions of Dyfed still enfolded them. I will not release you entirely here. You could not breathe, and you would freeze, and your eyes would be drawn from their sockets. If not for these things, you would enjoy this place. Here you could leap thrice your height. I brought you here only to convince you it was nowhere on Dominaria. And now for a more habitable realm. Again, into the blind eternities they spun. Again, the solid world flattened and folded, inverted itself. This journey seemed more brief, more tolerable. They emerged into another world. They stood on a drifting cloud in an illimitable sky of purple. There was no land below, no sunny emptiness above. Only this all-enveloping purple and the stacks and stacks of cloud. A fine mist about their knees condensed to the solid ground beneath their feet. The final tracers of Dyfed's magic released them, and they could move, breathe, slump down in weak-kneed awe on the slowly transforming cloud. Rebecca strode gently forward. Her feet made a wet sound on the cloud. It clutched enviously at her. A few paces led her to the cloudy cliff. She walked with ease over the knob of stone and stood there, perpendicular to the rest of the group. In a plane that is only cloud and sky, it is better if one cannot fall, Dyfed said gladly. She swept out her hand again. The gesture enveloped the company in silken bands of power. Rebecca seemed to be lying on her side as they jagged through the halls of time. When the company emerged again, she was in fact on her side. There would have been no better place to be on the lofty meadow. Those who were not lying down, or at least kneeling, collapsed. As high as the clouds had seemed, the sunny overlook was 10 times as terrifying. Below the cliff's edge, wide rivers formed slender threads on a wide plain. Ancient forests seemed but clinging lichens. The endless ocean at the edge of it all visibly curved. Only Dyfed remained standing, and beside her, Yawgmoth, because he leaned on her. His voice was giddy in that soaring place. "This is our destiny. It begins today. I have asked Dyfed to find me a paradise, a perfect plane, and make a permanent portal to it from Halcyon. The caves of the damned will become a doorway to our paradise. The first who will dwell therein are our own infirm. Folk made ill by Power Stone Thysis will move into a virgin world, safe from ravaging magic. They will be cured. Once they are, they will open the world to the rest of us for colonization. Yes, elders, I promise to end the riots, and have done so. I promise to eradicate the Thysis, and I am doing so. I promise to elevate our race into divinity, to bring us to a perfect world in which even death will hold no sway. This day is a first step toward that glorious new world." The only untouchables who survived in the caves of the damned were those in the quarantine cavern, those with Thysis. It was among them that the soldiers found Gix. Ravaged by disease and war, Gix lay in a dark alcove and panted like a dog with storm terrors. He still wore Power Stone armor and helmet. In one hand, Gix clutched a sword, with which he had slain 18 guards. The mood for killing was gone from him, though. He did not lift the sword when health corps workers surrounded him. He did not cling to the hilt when they snatched the sword away. It was lucky for him that he didn't. The workers were ordered to slay anyone who resisted. Had Gix resisted, he would not have survived to see Yawgmoth. Of course, surviving is what Gix did best. Yawgmoth stood above him now. The tip of his sword hovered just above Gix's throat. There'd be no escape this time. "Why don't you get it over with?" Gix asked, trying to sound brave. "Get what over with?" Yawgmoth replied. "Why don't you go ahead and kill me?" Yawgmoth sighed impatiently. "Whether or not you realize it, Gix, you are my puppet. You've been my puppet for years. I knew you would rise to lead your people. Your idealism runs deep, but not as deep as your fear of death. It makes you utterly predictable. Honesty, discipline, charisma, fear, these are your marionette strings. I have been pleased to pull them, but I have no more need of a puppet." "Then why don't you go ahead and kill me?" Gix shouted. "A puppet? No. But a servant? Yes. Like all of us, Gix, you must ascend to survive. You must climb out of your former skin. It's too small for you now. Take command of your strings, vow your loyalty to me, and live." "If I'm only a puppet," Gix growled, "then why don't you just make me vow?" Yawgmoth's eyes were as sharp as his sword. "That is what I am doing." He stared a moment more, and then snorted. "This is tiresome." Yawgmoth raised his sword for the killing blow. "Wait! I will swear it! I will serve you, loyally, forever!" Yawgmoth strolled through the caves of the damned among the dead. Health Corps workers tended them with wheelbarrows and meat hooks. They no doubt considered this a mass grave. Yawgmoth would change their opinion. He walked to a particular tunnel, long and smooth in bedrock. Dyfed had said such a site would be needed, surrounded in solid basalt. He walked through the tunnel, running his hands affectionately along the black stone. At its end lay a small chamber, what once had been a private residence of the Lord among the damned. Here, just across this threshold, she would make a portal to paradise. What others saw as a mass grave, Yawgmoth saw the future.